Welcome back to the Shut the Hell Up and Sell podcast. I am your host, the writer of an author. Writer, that sounds weird. Author, that sounds better. Author of Shut the Hell Up and Sell, Ronell Richards. And I'm joined by another sales leader. Actually, this guy, man, I might have to call you like the Renaissance man. Maybe we're going to change the... I don't just want to say sales leader. Like, this dude is, he's doing so many, his life's just way cooler than mine. Let's just put it that way. Like, it's way more exciting. And I'm super excited to have you on, Gary. So I've got Gary Furman hanging out with me today. And we hooked up a couple of months ago, and you were just telling me a little bit about your story and your background. And man, so fascinating. I'm like, dude, you're the first person I think I've ever on the spot said, listen, I want you on the podcast. And look, here we are. A couple months later, we're here. You're upstaging me though. Like, you got a better backdrop than me. Nobody has a better backdrop.
Come on.
But you managed to do that. Welcome in,
Thank you. Awesome to be here. And you took me by surprise too when you asked me. So believe me, I was kind of shocked on the spot as well. But absolutely stoked.
Really? Come on now, man. The Renaissance guy. I bet you've been asked to like play guitar for like I don't know, the Rolling Stones or something, or hop on the mic with Jay-Z or something. This seems like you'd be that type of guy. Like, Jay-Z's doing his concert, he points out, he's like, "You guy, come up here," and then you spit a few bars, and then you get signed.
I'll be honest, I have been asked before, but only on Zoom calls. So yeah, it doesn't count.
What? To spit bars or do it with Jay-Z?
It's like, oh, I like that guitar. Can you grab it and play for me? I'm like, hey man, we're on a work call here. All right.
All right. So for those of you guys that are not watching the video, which I want to encourage you, if you listen to this, listen to the podcast. First of all, I appreciate any way that you're consuming this, whether it is, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're listening to this. I appreciate that. But I will say that the video experience just takes it to a whole nother level. So you get to see Gary's guitars hanging up beside him. You get to see his perfect hair. Jesus Christ. Dude, can you lift that? I bet he can lift it off. It looks too
It's perfect. Like a helmet, so you can't touch it once it's a set it and forget it situation.
All right, so how long does it take you?
Honestly, when I go to the barber, I tell him, this is what I want to do. Go like this, and then do a little spray, and I'll be done. And that's how he cuts my hair.
Wow. Okay, but how often?
Every month, once a month. Yeah.
Okay,
that's it.
That's it.
When you get a good cut.
Okay. Okay. Well, see, for brothers, it's a little bit different, man. We got to do like once. So right now, I run probably every 10 days, but I used to be. I know this sounds insane to some of you folks out there. I used to be like every 5 or 6 days. Yeah. Right. And then one year, my CPA is doing my taxes, and he's like, "This expense right here, who's this? What's this?" I'm like, "Oh shit, I spent that much on my."
So you're saying barbershop's a good business? I'll jot that note down.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, if you're my barber, it's a great big business. Shout out to Forrest. What's going on, Forrest? Anyway, Gary, back to you, man. So let's start this thing off, but just if you would share with the audience what it is that you do for a living, how you're changing the world of business and sales.
Sure. So I work for a company called Tierpoint. It is a cloud and managed services provider. And what sets us apart and makes my job a hell of a lot easier is the fact that we own the underlying infrastructure and we own the buildings where the underlying infrastructure sits. And on top of that, we layer all of our services around that portfolio so that it's a complete white glove managed service. Anyone that needs anything in their IT stack could come to us. We can do it. We do it well. We support it. Price to sell. And you get me on your team. I'll always be behind you.
Yeah. How about that? And okay, so I know you're killing it. You're killing it in sales. That's cool. Love that. That's fun for everyone to know. But what's really sexy, man. What we really want to know is who you are, not just what you do. So we start with what you do because we got a little bit of context there, so people know. Okay, this is what you do. But if you're on the platform, everyone knows that you're a killer. Like everyone on this platform is a top-rated triple A Ronell stamp approved seller, like killing it. But I want to know where it started for you, my friend. So what's the first sales job that you had? I mean, I'm talking about you got a paycheck.
You ready?
Not the I know you were probably, I don't know, you're probably selling lemonade on the beach or something, and I don't know,
I
something
wish
as
it
a
was as
kid.
luxurious as that. So
It wasn't.
I do remember my very first job. It was in North Brunswick, New Jersey. So
Mm,
let me rewind it a little bit more. So I moved here to America from Ukraine when I was 7. Now, my family and I, we had nothing when we came to the country. So we had to figure out very quickly, A, how to speak the language. That was a huge barrier, right? I myself had
mm-hmm.
no idea how to speak English. So I got put on a school bus. We'll never forget this. First day of school, first grade, 7 years old. My name was still Igor, right? Before we
Mm-hmm.
changed it a little bit,
Oh,
a
you
few years
changed
down the
it.
road, changed it to
Okay.
Gary. My citizenship papers say Igor, aka Gary Furman, still today, because that's my
Uh-huh.
alias. Uh, and so instantly I had to realize how to do things, how to get things done, and it was on the fly. Now, being that young, it really came easy to me. For my parents, not so hard, so I watched them struggle. My mom started a
Mm-hmm.
nanny job. My dad was a gymnastics coach. And again, the language barrier, but I saw them. They were growing, 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 and I realized they are hardworking people. And that's where kind of my culture set in. That is what I know. It's all I know. Just work hard. If you work hard, good things will come. So when I was
Mm.
12 years old, I got a job as a junior custodian in my own elementary school, picking gum off the bottom of desks. Yes,
What?
that was my very first job experience,
Okay.
and I'm so grateful for it because I met some really nice people. And I just it was that's what I knew. I would wake up, I would walk to work as a little kid, walk to
Mm-hmm.
work, and I mean I sound like I'm 90 years old, but that's the way it was, right? So I'd walk to work. I had this spray. You would freeze the gum on the bottom of the desk. You'd scrape it off. It was rewarding, and you get paid.
Uh-huh.
And that's it. That was my very first job experience that I am extremely grateful for because ever since that, in high school, I made varsity lacrosse team. Did I play? No,
Mm-hmm.
because while I was playing, I realized practicing every day after school, I'm not earning. I'm not making money. I'm not progressing my career. I'm playing a
Mm.
sport, which by all means, is massively important, especially for those that go to school on scholarships, which I wish I did, but I didn't. But I
Mm-hmm.
stopped playing lacrosse and I got my first actual sales job, which was cold calling, carpet cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
So I would call
Okay. Tell me
companies.
about it.
I would call companies. I would call houses, cold call, and say, "Hey, you cleaned your carpets with us a couple of years ago. I'm sure they're pretty filthy by
Yeah.
now. Why don't we come back out and do this all over again?" And
Yeah. So
that was where I
so did
rejection.
you
That is where I learned
uh
acceptance. That's where I learned
uh
wins, losses. I learned a lot in just speaking with people, and I love doing that. I love talking to people.
Wow. Okay, so that's the first, Gary. I haven't had a cold calling carpet
There
cleaning
you go.
salesman yet. So yeah, but I'd expect nothing less from the Renaissance man. So tell me more about that first experience in sales because I find that how we entered the profession has such a strong impact on our philosophy on sales and how we do business and kind of stays with us forever or and for some people it pushes
Yeah.
them out. That very first experience is what pushes them out. So tell me something about that. Like what did you learn through that experience that's kind of like stuck with you
And, and
to
I
today?
think, and I hope that I'm not the only one that experienced this, but the fear of rejection, right?
Mm-hmm.
The amount of times that I either just heard a click or a no or a lose my number or worse, it was nonstop some days,
What's
and you'd walk out of there, you'd be defeated, but at the same time, you
yeah.
build that callus. And the more of a
Mm-hmm.
callus you build, the better you become at handling rejection. And at one point, I'm like, wait a minute. He just said no for such a silly reason. Let me go back to him. Let me give him a rebuttal and be like, well, hold on. I
Mm-hmm.
know that, there was a special back then, but you know what? What if I recreated that special for you right now? Would you do it again? And he's like, oh, well, I mean, that kind of changes things. I'm like, well, here we go. Let's make a deal. And that's it. So then I became better at navigating people, navigating rejection, navigating obstacles in my sales way. And that is the biggest lesson that I got out of there. And also just
Oh, I
working with
love it.
culture, we made it fun. We were sitting
Hmm.
in a basement making cold calls all day, but there was three of us. So we started making competitions of it. We would take small breaks, laugh, go back to work. Something funny would
Hmm.
happen on the phone. We would stop everything, tell everyone, go back to work. And so that culture kind of working with people
Oh
in a
man.
sales room,
Yeah.
it was an
Yeah.
office, to an extent, but I learned a lot from that small job of trying to get people to clean their carpets.
Gary, that is something. First of all, there's a couple things that I really loved about what you said, but like that sense of community, sales community, and camaraderie, like team, that's something that unfortunately a lot of new entrants into sales as a profession, they're not getting that
Yeah.
right now, man, because they're getting a job, straight out of college or whatever, or their high school, and they're just like, okay, you're on a Zoom. Here's what
Yep.
you do. Go sell. I'm like you, I had that when I got into it, man. Like if somebody was an asshole or whatever, I could go talk to my buddy and we could, he could console me and then we'd go get at it, or we'd have a little fun time, have little
Yeah.
challenges and things like that. And I think that's something that's missed right now. You also said something else that really resonated with me when you talked about um, building up that callus, right? And for whatever reason, I got this vision in my head of fighting and boxing. Have you ever? Of course you did. I don't know. I got the Renaissance man here. You've done everything, but I'm going to ask you: have you ever
I,
boxed?
I, I have not boxed. There you go. I've
What?
done I've
The
done
one thing.
karate as
There's
a kid,
one.
but never boxing.
Okay. Well, karate. Well, a little
But
different.
yeah,
Karate is a little different because there's not as you're not getting punched in the face. But here's the thing about boxing or MMA, whatever. Um, is that like so you haven't boxed? This is actually a great question to ask you. What's the worst thing about boxing? You what's worst? What do you think's the worst thing
just
about
get knocked
boxing?
out.
Yeah, getting hit in the
In the
face,
face,
right?
it's awful.
Like oh, like who wants to get hit in the face? But here's the thing: it sucks, right? It doesn't feel good,
Yep,
but once you've been hit in the face and you know what it feels like, you know what to expect. And so it hurts a little bit less every
exactly.
time. And so that your story kind of in some weird way made me think about boxing. It's like in sales, hey Leah, you get that hang up that first time and like it's crushing, right? It's like what they hung up on me, oh, or they called you a name or something, and it's
Yep.
crushing. But the 12th time, not so much. Like but I think a lot of people get scared off because of that first initial. They're like, oh, somebody hung up on me. I'm
And
done. I'm deflated.
exactly. And
Right?
you said it before, to weed out, right? That initial sales job weeds out the people that are going to continue to be in sales versus the people that are saying, this is not for me. This is just not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a lot of
Well,
those
and I think
in my
that
career.
so have I. I think though, Gary, if people had that community like you had, right? Like they're in a room with like, 5 or 6 other people that are going through the same thing, they might find that they actually love
Yeah.
it when they get through that
Yep.
part. Because at the end of the day, that part sucks, but like every job has something that sucks. But what doesn't suck is what we get to do today, what you do today, which is providing great solutions, providing great outcomes, helping businesses, saving businesses. That part's pretty
Yeah.
awesome. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And selfishly, the wins are everything. That's a drug in itself,
Yeah,
right?
man.
I mean, I remember, and I told you the story of my accident. I was in a hospital bed and the doctors came to me. I am in shambles. And the doctors come to me and my family comes to me and they're like, what can we do? What can we bring you? And I said, just get me my laptop. Just get me my
Hmm.
laptop. And I jumped on my laptop, started firing out emails. Most of them were like, I'm alive. I'm alive.
Okay,
Do this.
Gary, let's bring everybody into this, man. If we're going there,
Yes.
we're going there, man. Like, so you started it, so we're
Let's
going
go
there.
there.
If I want, let's talk about your story, because I think it's a great. For me, it was really inspirational to hear as a seller, and I'd love it if you'd share what happened to you.
Absolutely. So this August, it'll be 6 years. I was in a really bad motorcycle accident. I got ran off the road at about 45, 50 miles an hour. My bike landed on me, said I slid, I don't know, 100 feet, 200 feet, 1 mile it seemed like. I just kept sliding. And I slid
Mm.
under a oncoming van. Luckily, the van saw me. He was the person that called 911. Slid under it. That's what stopped me from sliding in the first place. I was in really bad shape. I mean, the adrenaline was running through me. I got up on my feet. I was screaming at the top of my lungs, and I looked over at my hand, and it wasn't there. And then I realized, I'm like, oh my God, this is bad. And I picked up, it was hanging under my elbow. I picked it up and I held it to my body, and I looked down at my foot, and half my foot was gone. I looked up my side. I'm bleeding everywhere. Felt like it was raining, but it was just blood dripping down over my face, pouring. And I realized I am in really, really bad shape. And the guy came over to me and he goes, hey man, you need to go sit on the grass. This is really bad. Go sit down. Stop running around. And I laid down, and I didn't know what to do. I had no idea. The ambulance came. They cut my clothes off one foul swoop, put me on a stretcher, put me into the ambulance. And ambulance is freezing cold. I'll never remember. I started shaking a little bit, and then I started going to some sort of convulsion. And I had enough of me left where I asked the person, I was like, hey man, am I going to die? And that was probably like the lowest, deepest, hardest point, because I had no idea what that person was going to tell me. And the guy goes, Gary, this is really bad, but you're going to be all right. And you're going to feel a lot better in 3, 2, 1. And it was just, my soul like left my body. I was like, oh my God. And the pain didn't go away. It's just that I didn't care about it. And that was the introduction of opioids into my system. And that was, yeah, a very strong drug that they gave me intravenously. So got me to the hospital. They cleaned out all my wounds and started bandaging me up. And I woke up because they put me under to do all that. I woke up and I still was kind of felt the pain, obviously, but I was still under. And they let me know my mom's coming, everyone's coming to see me. And instantly I was so scared, not for me, but, and this will be funny. I was scared that my mom was going to yell at me. She never wanted me to have a motorcycle. I got the motorcycle. Her biggest fear was me falling. I went down, and that's it. And that's all I wanted. I was like, oh my God, she's going to kill me. This thing didn't kill me. My mom's going to kill me. That's going to happen. And that's it. So I had about, I would say 7 surgeries after that, putting me back together. All kinds of new technology I never heard of, wound vacs and external fixators. I have now titanium going through my arm. I can't bend my wrist like this. I could share with you the X-ray, but my 2 bones are actually, my one bone's detached, so that they gave me this movement where I could turn my wrist, but I can't bend my wrist. And yeah, slowly I started to get better. And I realized this is a big lesson that I learned too. And a takeaway, non-business takeaway, but a health takeaway. If you treat your body well, when it comes to push and shove, your body will treat you well in return. It is critically important to be healthy. And the doctors told me, they're like, we've never seen skin grow back so fast. We've never seen this happen so fast. And I started to realize, I was like, you know what? This is my motivation now. I need to get better. I need to now prove to everyone that knows that I've been in an accident that I got this. And I'm going to come out of it. I'm going to be even better than before. And then the doctor came to me. My foot doctor came first, said, you're going to learn, you have to learn how to walk again. And I'm like, what do you mean? I've just been laying down. how do I not remember how to walk? And he's like, well, you lost 3 toes. It's like the balance is going to be completely off. So fast forward, he sends me out of the hospital in a boot. He goes, do not walk. Do not walk in this boot. All right, I won't walk. I'm in a wheelchair. I get home, stand right up, walk across the room. And I'm like, I knew it. I knew it. He was just saying that. Is he testing me? Was he real? Like for real? I don't know. I guess doctors are programmed, or they have to by law say worst case scenario, because if they don't, I could go after him and say, well, you told me I could walk and I can't walk. I'm going to sue you. You're a bad doctor. So he said, all right, you walked. Great. I told you not to. Don't do anything else. Like, do not take the boot off. That's when you're going to fall. The boot is the ultimate stabilizer. It's got a wide base. You know, it's making it really easy. Come home, take the boot off, walk across the room again. And I'm like,
Really?
I got this. I got this. And he goes, well, you're not going to be able to run for sure, unless you get a prosthetic, get a shoe insert, get this, get that. And I'm getting better and better and better. And I go, you know what? I'm going to go for a run. I said, you know what? I'm going to do a push-up. I can't do it like this on my hands. I'm going to do it on my fists. And I sent all my buddies a picture of me running in place and then getting down on the ground and doing 10 push-ups. And slowly, I just did everything that the doctor told me I wasn't going to do. I started doing it. He said, you won't surf. Okay. Tell me again that I won't surf. First vacation I went on, got on a surfboard, and I surfed. And that's when I knew. I was like, you know what? My thought of, I know that I could beat this, I definitely now can. And I can be better. I started swimming. I started running. I started biking. Now mountain biking again. Everything just started to fall back into place. But the ultimate lesson there is I went from being the top sales rep at the old company I used to work for to thinking that I might be dead. I had everything, and then I had nothing. And it basically was such a humbling moment, because when I came to the country with my family, we had nothing. It almost brought me back to that, but even lower, because we had our health. We had everything. We had potential. And the state of America then, it was the land of opportunity. It's why we came here in the first place, right? So to be kind of knocked back down to where you can't walk, you can't do things by yourself, everything hurts, you're on medication, to then just rebuild, that was massively rewarding all over again. And that's why I said, when they came to me and said, what do you want us to bring you? I said, give me my laptop. And I closed one of my biggest deals from a hospital bed. And that was the ultimate high, because again, it was just one thing after the other that told me, Gary, you got this. Gary, you got this. So just focusing on what drives me and focusing on the things that I know will naturally make me bigger, better, stronger, did exactly that. It wasn't.
So you were sitting in a hospital bed rehabbing, and you asked your family to bring your laptop.
I did. I just knew. I knew it would get my mind off of the pain. I knew it would give me something to potentially celebrate, and it just give me something to do. Man, is it boring sitting in a hospital with nothing to do and watch the 4 channels on a tiny television hanging in the corner of the room. Can't do it.
There's only so much Judge Judy you can watch,
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So they brought your laptop. You went to work and you closed it. You closed big business. And there's another like great story from that great ending. Tell me what happened
in that deal
from the selling. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so it was a big cloud deal for a large bank, and I've been fighting this one for quite a while. And when everything came to a halt because of this accident, I just knew this would give me my life again. Let's do it. Let me bring this back up. And now I almost selfishly, I was kind of like, I think I have an edge now too. I'm coming to these guys. Yeah. They're going to see, wow, Furman wants to do business. Furman's looking out for us. Yeah. Guy almost died.
Wow.
And now he's calling us from the hospital. That says something.
Jeez.
And I don't know if I got the sympathy win or what, but I got the win, and that's what counts.
Man, forget the Renaissance, man. I'm calling you the closer, man. Are you kidding me? Who's got a story like that? No, but thank you so much for sharing that story with me and with the audience, man. It just it's very inspiring to me, and I know that it's inspiring to others, and I hope that you feel called in some way to share that story with as many people as will listen, because I know you can make real impact in people's lives. And there's always that thing where we're going through something and we say to ourselves, well, maybe it could be worse. Well, yes, it could be worse.
Always,
And you experienced
always.
worse, and you overcame, man. So, you know, of the many lessons that you learned through your experience, could you give me like maybe one or two that are just that stand above the rest in terms of what you learned through your experience?
Absolutely. This was another lesson that I learned a while back, and it's to take chances. You'll always look back and say, I wish I did something, when you didn't do something. But if you did do
Mhm.
it, and even if it was a flop, at least you know that you tried. And I wish still to this day that I took more chances back in the day. So coming up in the ranks, I was actually a sales engineer. I wasn't a true
Mhm.
sales guy. I was supporting the sales guys from the technical side. And I waited almost 12 years before I jumped into sales. And the one thing that I wish I did, and it kind of worked out, I'm not going to say I have regrets, but I think that I could have started my career sooner and developed my career further had I started sooner. But I was too scared to take that leap. I was too
Mhm.
scared to have the bullseye on my back of a quota. I was too scared to drum up business from thin air, go back on the phone, start cold calling again, start with nothing, go from absolute hero at the end of the month to an absolute
Mhm.
zero at the beginning of every month. I was too scared.
Mhm.
And then finally, the stars aligned and I jumped in. And that is a massive lesson, because after that, after this experience with the accident, after some other experiences, taking chances is something that I've been doing. And I've been following my heart, I've been following my gut, and I've
Mhm.
just been doing, right? One life to live.
Mm.
That's it.
Wow.
And the other thing is relying on mentors. This has been
Mm.
huge, huge
Great
for me.
segue. That's my next question for you. So that's a great segue. So my next question for you is, in sales and business, many of us have had, some coaches or mentors, and some of those have been official, some of them aren't official. They're just somebody that's looked out for us or given us some advice or some wisdom. And I call that person on this show the unsung hero, because sometimes those folks don't know. Some of them do know, but some of them don't know. And so I would like to give you the opportunity to shout out one of those folks and tell me why you're shouting them out.
So a lot of them, right?
Mm.
That was one of the things that I wanted to bring here to the table, is that you shouldn't have just one mentor. You're limiting
Mhm.
yourself if you just follow one person's advice, because a lot of different people could bring you a little bit, and those little
Mhm.
bits add up to everything. Everything. So growing up, my brother was my mentor. He's 9 years older than I am. I saw him work. I saw him start to make money. He got all the nice cars. He got all the fancy clothes. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. So I started asking him, is this a good idea? He'd be like, nope, 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 nope. And I'm like, wow, this guy's so negative. He's so negative, dropping every one of my ideas. Looking back now, what I've asked him, I graduated college. I said, hey, do you think it's a good idea for me to start building race cars? And he goes, no. Definitely not a good idea. And with me, I'm like, I love cars. I love going fast. I love building cars, tinkering with cars. And I know a lot of people that like the same thing. I think I could do this as a career. So I didn't listen to him, and I did it, and lost a bunch of money. I had some good times, had some bad times, lots of bad times, and it was just a flop. And I said, "Wow, man, he does know what he's talking about." So ever since then, I just started following his lead. And at one point, I met another person that jumped into my life. It was my first job. I worked. It was my first IT job. I went to
Mhm.
school as a business administration major, And honestly, I thought that I'm going to graduate college, jobs are going to be thrown at me. It's going to be so easy for me to walk out of college and start making boku bucks. And then the reality was, what am I going to do? What am I supposed to
Mm-hmm.
do with a business administration? I'm going to be a business administrator? No. So I got a job being a technical writer for a company that worked at a broker dealer. It was a trading firm in Jersey City, New Jersey. And in that IT room, I met my next mentor, a gentleman by the name of Anthony Libretto. There's a shout out.
Mm-hmm.
And he took me
Anthony,
under
what's up?
his wing. This guy is one of the smartest guys that I know. And he said, "Stick with me, kid. I'll take you places and we're going to have a lot of fun." And he did that. He dragged me out of that IT room, got me my first junior engineer job. I looked at him. I'm like, "Ant, I have no idea what I'm doing." He goes, "Trust me. You're going to learn. You're going to learn fast. And I'm going to help you out." And he started teaching me the ways, teaching me the ways. And every time I'd screw up or every time I wasn't doing something I was supposed to be doing, he goes, "Man, you got to grow up. Dude, you got to grow up." And it was so funny because that gave me the push that I needed. It would just annoy me to the point where I'm like, ah. And I went from junior SC to senior SC to a new company, still working with him hand in hand. Now we're starting to do business together. He's working at one company, started his own company. I'm working at another company. We're doing business together. It was amazing. And now what I look forward to, and I just joined Tierpoint just under a year ago. My biggest thing was, all right, who am I working with in this company? Are there
Mm-hmm.
any potential mentors in this company? And my first
Mm-hmm.
three interviews, interview number one was with Ron Bianco, who's my current boss. He's a vice president of sales. Interview number two, chief revenue officer. Interview number three, chief sales officer. And I'm like, this is amazing. It's a big company. We almost have 1,000 employees, national company. And I'm speaking and rubbing elbows with the top folks at the company. And I could call their cell phone right now to go get lunch, to go for a surf, or to help me out with a problem I'm having where I can't get through to a customer. I need their help talking to one CFO, to another CEO, to a CTO, whatever the case may be. I know that I can rely on them, and they're going to walk away from that and give me some solid advice on something I did right, something I did wrong, and what I could have done different. So
Okay.
mentorship is absolutely everything.
Okay. I want to pause on that because there's something really profound that you said that I think so many people can benefit from. First, before I go into that, again, shout out to Anthony. And you didn't tell us your brother's name. What's your brother's name?
Oleg Furman.
Oleg. What's happening? Shout out to Oleg and Anthony. Now, how long have you been how many years have you been in your career now?
This will be 14 years.
All right, 14 years. So you said when you showed up at Tier Point, first thing you did was start to look at, okay, who can I find, who can I get mentorship from? You started to try to identify mentors. And I find that to be extremely profound because there's so many people that have experience that they stop doing that. They think that like we graduate from being, the mentee to the
Yep.
mentor, right? And they don't continue to look for those folks or look for education or look for ways to educate themselves. They feel like, okay, I'm at this point and I'm kind of good. I'm 15, 16, 20 years, 25 years in my career, and yeah, I know more than everybody else. Maybe they don't say that to themselves, but they act that way.
Yep.
So what you just shared, I hope that's something that people take something from that. If you don't have mentorship and coaching right now, and you're a veteran, you're experienced, man, go find it. And it doesn't have to come from somebody that's older than you. And I think that's kind of what happens as we get older and more established. And we're like, okay, well, there's not too many people that are older
Yeah.
than me that have more experience. That mentorship, that those sorts of mentor type relationships can come from people that just have different experiences and different education than you. They can be younger than you. So thank you for sharing that. I want to make sure that didn't get missed with folks. And I wanted to make sure we shouted out your brother. All right. This has been a blast, man. And literally, Gary, I could do this for like a couple hours with you, but we don't have a couple hours because we
Unfortunately.
got salespeople listening to this and watching this, and you guys need to shut the hell up and go sell. So, my last question, leave us with some simple, practical, pragmatic advice, direction, whatever that someone can take from this episode and apply that direction or advice to their career and start to see some success.
Absolutely.
What you got?
I think the biggest thing I would say is just don't get comfortable. The more uncomfortable you are, the more it's going to inspire you to do things differently and do things you haven't done before. If you get comfortable, you become mediocre, you plateau, you'll never get better. And then rely on partners. There's a lot of people around you that you will have no idea, but you could say something like cloud services, and they'll be like, "Oh, my cousin Joe, he does something with cloud services. You guys should talk. All right, let's talk." And that could be your next big deal. There is help around us at all times. Channel partners, right, where you and I just were in Vegas, that is a massive gathering of partners that all have opportunities, that all have livelihoods. They need to put food on the table for their families. And how do they do that? By giving opportunities to people like me that work for a provider. And I rely on them for that, right? If they like working with you, they're going to continue to give you opportunities. And not all of them will close, but they're going to keep you busy.
So I want to ask you, because I like to get as like tactical and prescriptive as possible. So you mentioned, staying uncomfortable or not getting comfortable. Is there something that you do on either a daily or weekly basis that keeps you in that mindset or brings you back to focusing on being in uncomfortability?
Absolutely. You block off some time and you make some cold calls. Humble yourself again. Absolutely. And, sometimes again, now being established, having some accounts, having a lot of partners that I work with, there's better phone calls that I could be making. But once in a while, you got to have that humbling moment of just saying, "Hey, I'm calling from Tierpoint. What are you guys doing for technology? What's your ISD stack look like?" And that results in either a moment of like, I remember where I came from, or it could be a potential opportunity. So I do a lot of things like that. And my company, I'm fortunate enough where we have a lot of these marketing programs, and our marketing programs really push us. We're judged with metrics of what kind of outreaches we do, things like that. And it forces me to do exactly that. I strive to get new business in the door. Partners are, I would say, the low-hanging fruit, but the core business, something I could drum up by myself, that really develops me as a person, me as a salesperson. When I have my own relationships, that gives me power. And it could be within the organization and then also outside of the organization. Because if I'm selling apples here, go to the company, now my next company, I'm selling oranges, and I know this guy's going to buy oranges from me, who's a better man? I'm an easy hire.
Yeah.
So stay relevant, stay on your toes, and just don't plateau. As soon as you plateau, you're getting ready for retirement. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Well, I mean, not if it's, yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know. I can't even envision it, man. But at some point, I think the good thing is doing it on your terms.
Exactly.
Doing it on your terms. All right, Gary, this has been a blast, man. Thank you for sharing the story. I've really enjoyed it. And guys, again, that last takeaway, hey, make some calls. If you're someone that's been been in the business for a long time, been in sales for a long time, and you found yourself drifting further and further away from those core fundamental activities, get back to it, man. Get back to it. Give yourself a gut check. All right, guys. I appreciate you as always checking in, watching this podcast, listening to this podcast. If you've enjoyed it, please give us 5 stars, give us a review, tell your friends, all that good stuff that I tell you every time. I appreciate it, but I appreciate nothing more than the time that you've given us, because I understand how valuable that is. So thank you for hanging out, Gary. Thank you for giving us your time. And listen, folks, if you don't remember anything else from this podcast, which, by the way, If you don't remember this is a memorable one, man. I don't if you can't remember this one, I don't know what to say to you. But if you don't remember anything else, remember this. Shh. Say less, sell more. See you guys next time. Hey guys, it's Ronell, and I just wanted to thank you for listening to this episode of the Shut the Hell Up and Sell podcast. If you liked it, please rate us 5 stars on whichever podcasting platform you're listening to this on. And while you're at it, punch that subscribe button. That way you get notified every time we drop a brand new episode. Hey, I'd also appreciate it if you went to our website, shutthehellupandsell.com, and became a member. It's absolutely free, and you'll have the opportunity to listen to previous episodes of our podcast, check out some of our free courses, get a copy of the book, and we'll send you sales tips and motivational nuggets from time to time. Lastly, if you'd like to book me for either appearances or speaking engagements, just send an email to my team at team@shutthehellupandsell.com.